What's up, family? This is your man, not your boy, Go Black to Africa. So I am here again with my professor. Please introduce yourself again.
I'm Professor Alemayehu Bishau, teaching here at Bada University as senior professor and researcher.
Yes, I would mess your name up every time. That's why I'd rather for you to introduce yourself.
Yeah.
We're talking about philosophy.
Yeah.
And, you know, the ideal of where did philosophy, who started who had the mindset of the sciences, the astrologies, the maths, the medical. You know, in Kemet or Egypt, there are those who take claim that that is the beginning of all knowledge in these philosophies. Now, you have a very interesting take of something different than that.
Yeah.
Please share with the people. We're here in
Yeah.
Ethiopia in Badhadat, and so our professor is going to share.
In the first place, everybody has his own philosophy.
Everybody
has his own philosophy.
Okay.
Now,
Because you also teach philosophy.
sure, a
Yes.
philosophy of education.
Okay.
Every individual has his own life philosophy.
Yes.
If man starts to live here first in Ethiopia,
Yeah.
then the first philosophy about his life is Ethiopian.
Yeah.
I'm using logic, simple logic, that the world has agreed upon.
The world agreed upon that.
That mankind has started here in Ethiopia.
Okay.
And
Okay.
Lucy's another again archaeological finding. I don't know. First time I couldn't. Anyways, people believe that the world has agreed that the origin of mankind is Ethiopia.
Okay.
Then, if man starts life here then philosophy starts here.
I'm with you on that. If the first man is here,
Here, then man has his own life philosophy. I'm simply giving you a logic.
yeah.
Then remember the Blue Nile starts here.
Okay. Now, let's back up a little bit
Yeah.
before you say that.
Yeah.
Because we do know the boundaries of Africa now has 54 countries
Yeah.
divided up by the Europeans. And we know Ethiopia is not the size of what it was before.
Sure.
Ethiopia went all the way to the west. And the
Yeah.
matter of fact, the Atlantic Ocean was known as the Ethiopian
Sure.
Ocean.
Yeah.
So anyway, you're saying that first man starts in Ethiopia.
Man starts to philosophize himself, his
True.
life, his belief,
The knowing.
his worship.
Knowing himself, knowing what's above and above.
Around people, the world around.
Yes.
Therefore, if man starts, philosophy starts here.
Okay.
You cannot defend this. But the current knowledge has to be revisited because colonization was the source of knowledge. People start to write things in terms of their exposure. The colonizers didn't have adequate time to stay here in Ethiopia and to study how man has started in Ethiopia and how philosophize their lives, and then what kind of achievement do they have. There, for instance, when I read higher education has started in Morocco, it says, but higher education has started in Ethiopia, and I used to write and publish here in the world. Because have you heard about Saint Yared?
Who?
Saint Yared, a musician and a religious musician.
No.
Who found his own philosophy of dancing style, which is highly abstract and being still done without any kind of modification. That started in the 6th century, but still being practiced in the church education at highest level. That's the first higher education, and I have an evidence to say that.
You had mentioned about the people of the Phoenicians, or what was it?
Phoenicians people.
Phoenicians people.
Yeah.
Who were they, and how did they spread the knowledge?
They were travelers. They were business people before the birth of Jesus Christ. I'm talking about nearly 700, 900 years before the birth of Jesus Christ. And they used to travel across Europe. And then there were people living in the northeastern part of Ethiopia.
This is a name that y'all used to go by, Phoenicians.
Yeah.
Phoenicians?
Fincan is in Amharic.
Is there Americ? Say that
Yeah,
again?
Fincan.
Finkel.
Yeah.
Okay. And these people were Ethiopians?
Ethiopians.
Okay.
And then they used to travel across Red Sea and went to Greek. And then they introduced writing skill. While the writer admit that it's Venetians who introduced writing skill to Greek.
Yes.
But they attribute modern education was introduced through the support of Egyptians. I don't know that time whether Egypt and Ethiopia had similar territory or not. That's not my worry now.
Well, when we talk about the beginning of mankind,
Yeah.
no matter when you begin to grow in numbers and people begin to spread,
Yeah.
you still have an origin spot, a beginning spot,
Sure.
origin spot.
Yeah.
And so what you're saying is that if you go back to the beginning, that's where knowledge started. That's where philosophy started.
No other logic. It's not a big deal to understand this fact. Even if man starts to act with vocational education, is that not?
Yeah.
Therefore, vocational education has started. Man differs from other animals by using his hands to survive, to defend himself. Therefore, you can argue that vocational education has started with Lucy. Is my logic clear to you? I'm not focusing on history even. I'm stressing on logic.
On logic.
On logic.
Yes.
I don't worry whether history proves this or not. But logically, if man starts to differ from other animals by using instruments to defend himself, to cook. Am I right?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you mentioned logic in our previous video.
Yeah.
I don't want to take it back to color. But logic tells me that if we have 1.4 billion black people in the continent of Africa,
Yeah.
more than likely, thousands of years ago, they were black. If you can't find that amount of number anywhere else in any of
Anywhere
these
in the-
countries,
of course.
logic will tell me
Yeah.
they were black here.
Sure.
Okay, let's move on. I had to get that in there. Okay.
Yeah.
So the spread of knowledge, you're saying, started here in the land of Africa, if they want to call it Ethiopia, what have you. Because the name Ethiopia is not necessary. That's a Greek name. Am I right?
Maybe. I'm not. Maybe.
Because y'all's name really is what?
Maybe. I don't know. Abyssinia was not the only name, because after some time the Bible knows Ethiopia as Ethiopia.
It knows it as Ethiopia.
Yeah.
But I think that's...
and Bible was written in three languages: Latin, Greek, and Hebraist.
Latin, Greek,
And Hebraist.
and Hebrew?
Hebrew, I mean.
Yes,
yeah.
Hebrew?
Hebrew.
Yes.
Therefore,
Okay.
from which of these we have taken, I don't know. I'm not good in that regard.
Yes.
However, Ethiopia is as old as Ethiopia. The name Ethiopia is as old as Ethiopia. Even God knows Ethiopia.
What's
The
that?
name Ethiopia. Because
Now,
every
what's the
Bible-
name? What's the name Ethiopia mean?
I don't know.
I
Even
thought
yeah.
Ethiopia meant dark face,
Maybe.
black face, or
maybe,
what have you,
Maybe.
burnt face, or what have you,
Maybe.
according to the
Yeah,
Greeks.
maybe. Because
Yes.
I don't want to take courage to speak about
I understand.
about something which I am not.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
I'll try to stay in my lane too.
Yeah.
Okay, so the knowledge stemming from Ethiopia. That means then everything started from Ethiopia.
If you agree with me that man starts here.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
But what if migration start? Because you stumble on, we as a people can be in another different land and stumble on different philosophies. We can have different learning experiences, and we will create different things. Does it still go back to the beginning? Just because you've migrated across lands, it still goes back to the beginning of that knowledge,
Well, the original knowledge is always most important.
the original knowledge.
The original knowledge.
What is that?
When I say, when man starts, that knowledge emanates with free mind, without being biased, without politically being manipulated, without being manipulated by technology. That the genuine knowledge, the original knowledge, has to be again revisited today.
It's got to be what?
It has to be revisited so that
Revisited. Okay.
people of the world can use it, so that people can have common understanding, common way of life. When I say common way of life, I'm not opposing difference or differential experience, but you see, when we start life, we are exposed to the white world. When I say white world, that's with nothing. Okay, therefore we expose ourselves to get experiences and learn and develop knowledge. That's why I said original knowledge.
Okay.
Okay. Therefore, that knowledge has to be again revisited so that man can benefit out of it.
Okay. Philosophy.
Yeah.
And even in saying that, I mean, because there's knowledge that comes in and knowledge that goes out.
Sure.
And each benefit and learn off of each other.
Yeah.
Because if you're saying that
Yeah.
even in the beginning when man migrated out, started to reproduce, create different lands, people and groups, that those philosophies still were shared because we traded with each other, we intermingled with each other and stuff like that. So it's not necessarily one taking the credit.
I personally believe that we should not run for the credit. Rather, we should run for making that wealth of knowledge to share for the world so that man can benefit out of it.
Okay. All right.
I agree with that, by the way. But if we start to take credit, then the credit goes to the original.
It goes to the original.
Yeah.
See,
But I don't believe- I don't
I'm with you on that.
yeah.
I'm with you because there
Yeah.
are those people who like call themselves names like they're the original
Yeah.
chosen Jews, or there are
Yeah,
those who
yeah.
might call themselves,
Yeah.
you know, the founding fathers of
Yeah.
philosophy.
Yeah.
And I always say, hold up, you have to go back to the original.
Yeah. But even
If
I
you want to
don't-
take credit.
if you start
gotta-
to take the credit.
You got to go back.
But I don't agree with that in the first place. Because
taking
man,
credit.
Yeah, because man starts somewhere else and expands everywhere.
Yes.
Therefore, every part of the world is the owner of that knowledge, because that knowledge is a result of mankind. If you are mankind, you are also part of that. We have to believe in this way so that there will be peaceful coexistence among people of the world.
All righty. Yeah, I'm with you. Because I'm a proponent of, you know, my knowing and my, what's the word you were using, you know, our knowledge, our sensible thinking, I guess, if you will.
Yeah.
I just lost my thought. But if everything started in Africa, and we know black man was in Africa.
Yeah.
That was the first man of Africa.
Yeah.
That was the first man of human race. Then why is it that we tend to submit to the Europeans as being the most knowledge? We rush to get to Europe for their education. We put them in a position of superior.
Yeah.
Why is that?
By the way, Ethiopians never believe on superiority of someone else.
Okay.
We don't believe. You might have good experience. The Europeans might have good experience in one aspect of life, but that doesn't mean that they are superior. This is not my conception. It's the conception of all Ethiopians. However, if you have something good, we are ready to share. We are ready to learn from you.
Well,
And we have also very good things for these people to take from us.
yes.
Am I clear?
Yes, but not to turn this in political, we do know that there are wars and conflicts that happen in all lands and places.
Yeah.
And typically, those are they typically stem from the differences in mindsets, where one may consider themselves to be better than
Yeah.
or more deserving than another.
Sure.
That happens even here in Ethiopia.
Yeah.
And so it does exist in Ethiopia and around the world.
True.
Yes.
Insofar as there is assumption that there is scarcity of resource, while there is no, while the world is enough for all people of the world, the assumption that scarcity of resource makes people to behave.
Say that again?
Scarcity of resource.
The scarcity
assumption.
of
It's
resource.
wrong assumption. The world is enough for all of us, in my belief. But some philosophers, scientists, and politicians believe there is scarcity of resources. Those who believe that there is scarcity of resource need to grab everything that they think is good. You got what I'm saying? Then this will make the series of crises among people of the world. It will create conflict among people of the world, within and outside. However, as human beings, if we believe that we have originated from the same source, but the variation might be in science and technology, whatsoever, comes as a result of certain experience and exposures, then we should not work on our differences. Unless they stop, unless those groups who are working on differences stop, then people start to think and search for who am I. For instance, if you blame that for my blackness, I will start to search for who am I? What resources do I have?
Yeah.
And what position do I have in the world?
Mm-hmm.
Who makes me to act in this way?
Mm-hmm.
Who decided my position in the world? Mm-hmm. And then how am I going to work so that this state of imbalance can be brought to state of balance? So
yes,
it's simply the result of the assumptions that there is scarcity of resource, while the world is enough for all people.
Mm. One last thing. I know that typically our beliefs, our opinions, our views stem from our culture,
Yeah.
our religion or spirituality,
Sure.
our environment.
Yeah.
And you being a professor, we know that you have gone through schooling.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the books that you've read and studied have had probably a huge influence.
Sure.
And those who have created those books, probably those books are accepted, come from the Western world.
Yeah. 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 Most of them, nearly all.
Yeah. And so do you think that has an impact on your belief system and
Yes.
how you see things?
Yes.
Because then now we're talking,
Yeah.
are you now a European mindset
Yeah.
instead of a African or Ethiopian?
Yeah.
Where do you stand in that? Because the outside influence of what we read
Yeah.
and study, you can
Yeah.
become and think that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I believe I'm Ethiopian, African,
Yeah.
in any way possible. Though I didn't deny the very good experience that I have drawn from books written by Western society,
Yes.
that I have grown by learning books written by the Western society.
Yes.
I'm not denying that it doesn't have any impact on the way I think.
Yeah.
But when you grow through experience, when you start to philosophize your life, then you start to question, who am I?
Yeah.
Okay, and what influence has been sent from others to shape the way I think, my world perspective. Now I used to check that I'm really Ethiopian in Africa. And I'm trying to differentiate the positive and negative impacts of the books that I have read. You got what I'm saying?
Yes, go ahead.
So if they are going to affect my belief system, then I will throw them, because I know that the books are the opinions of the writer. They are not facts, they are not truth. It's not an ultimate knowledge. Rather, they are the opinions of the writer. If that's the case, then I will take them insofar as they fit into my life philosophy and the way I live and I think.
But now, that's pretty tough as a professor, that you have to produce the information, you have to present the information, test the students, and you have to keep separate your own views and opinions
Sure.
out of the classroom,
Sure.
which makes it very challenging.
Very challenging.
Because now, what you're teaching in books that you might find that may be conflict of your own belief system, you're still pushing that narrative into the young minds who go off and believe such things.
When I teach, now I'm a professor. I have the right, I'm licensed to speak what I believe is true for my children. I don't take something that's written from books as it is.
Okay.
For instance, if I found some book talking about same-sex marriage,
Yeah.
it doesn't go with my religion, I will throw it away.
Okay.
You got what I'm saying? If it doesn't go in line with my belief system,
Yes.
my culture,
Yeah.
if I found it's against my country's national interest, I will not teach.
Okay.
If I found it's very relevant for
Even if it's a approved book at the university.
no one can approve for me a book, by the way. No one can approve a book for me.
So
I myself can approve a book for me.
you select what you teach.
Sure. Even from the book, I select some very important, not all.
Okay. You got a lot more liberties than in America.
Sure. Sure. Because Americans have a purpose, and we have a purpose too.
What's America's purpose?
Something that's interested for them, beneficiary for them. And our purpose is to make something that's important for Ethiopia, for
All
Africa.
right. Yeah.
Therefore, whatever sent from America is not appropriate for Ethiopia. It's only appropriate for America.
True.
You got what I'm saying? Therefore,
Yes.
as an Ethiopian and African, I have to choose something that's appropriate for my nation, my continent.
Well, I tell you this right here. That's very challenging when probably majority of the books that you study to give you the title of professor
Yeah.
come from Europe or the Western world.
Yeah.
That's tough.
But we are now writing our own. For instance, I have written a book on history of education, Ethiopian history of education.
Okay.
And I'm publishing, and I used to comment. Most writers in Ethiopian history of education say that Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church is against modern education. They say that. How come Orthodox Tewahedo Church is an education institution in its own sense? How it opposes? That was my question first, right? To argue. And then when I find it was not the church that opposed, therefore you have to comment on. It's time to comment truth. I mean, non-truth. Comment knowledge. There is no absolute truth in knowledge.
Oh, give me a pound on that right there.
Yeah.
I've said that a many a time because the good Lord showed me.
Yeah.
There's no absolute.
There is no absolute truth.
There is no absolute there.
Absolute truth comes from Bible and Quran
Yeah.
for believers.
Well,
For believers.
for believers.
For
Yeah,
believers.
For
I say
believers. For
for
those
believers.
who believe.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm strategic enough to speak.
All right, family. You heard it here first. Appreciate you, Professor.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
This is your man. This is your professor. Go black to Africa.